No matter what genre of anime you're into, there's always going to be tropes that are going to be used even if that said trope has been used for different animes. And it's not surprising to see some tropes be used so frequently because of just how long they have existed. And the isekai genre is no exception, but in saying this, it's not surprising to hear that there are some people who are really tired of certain tropes that happen in the isekai genre. Whether it's oftentimes seeing the weak protagonist all of a sudden be overpowered and take down anything and anyone, the isekai character having their own harem regardless if it makes sense or not, or just simply the repetitive storytelling of simply the person who comes from a different world being the key to saving the world that they are now in. But there is a specific trope that does sometimes happen that oftentimes people overlook and not really pay attention to it because either the isekai series brushes it aside or that said isekai series doesn't make it the main focus of the story, which is why very quickly people forget about this trope. And that trope is the isekai character being perfectly fine in the world that they are now in and not putting any effort into trying to go back to their original world. Now, oftentimes what the isekai anime will do to make people not really focus on this trope specifically is by making the isekai character die in the original world, which is oftentimes the reason why they're even transported into the isekai world. Or the other method is by simply just showing just how miserable that isekai character's life was in the original world, which is the reason why that character has no intentions of going back, since for them this is the way to start fresh and to restart their life and have the life they weren't able to have in their original world. And when these writing styles are used, it leads to us the viewers not questioning why those said characters never think of ever going back to their previous lives. But what if there was an isekai character that didn't do this? What if they were transported to an isekai world, but instead of viewing it as a second chance in life and instead of just simply trying to have a life in this new world, they are instead unhappy and are using the life that they have in the isekai world to try to find a way to get back to their original world, the world that they truly want to be in and the world that they greatly miss. And this exact scenario happens with Nanahoshi Shizuka from the series Mushoku Tensei. Mushoku Tensei is already an isekai just like with a few others that don't follow the isekai formula. So when they use this trope for their isekai protagonist, Rudeus Great Rat, and we saw just how miserable his life was in the previous world, it's no surprise that he has no intentions of ever going back to that previous life. But instead of using that trope to make us understand why Rudeus doesn't want to go back to his previous world and leaving it like that, it instead uses that trope to give Rudeus actual character development in the near future, as Rudeus will then come to understand that while he is happy with the world that he's in now, it doesn't mean that everybody's going to feel the exact same way. And that will be the case for Nanahoshi. When we were first introduced to Nanahoshi, we didn't even know she came from a different world, as during her introduction she was with Orsted, and it's because of her involvement with Orsted that she will be involved in one of the most intense moments of Mushoku Tensei, that moment in which Orsted was about to kill Rudeus. Despite Rudeus being an overpowered character, it was still not enough for him to truly defeat Orsted, and just when it seemed that he was about to die, it would be Nanahoshi who would convince Orsted to spare Rudeus's life. And it will be a while until we will see Nanahoshi once again, but eventually we do encounter her during the university arc. And when Rudeus sees Nanahoshi once again, it's no surprise that Nanahoshi is somebody that Rudeus fears because of just simply who she's involved with. But this attitude would change once Nanahoshi reveals to Rudeus who she actually is. She's not just some random person from this world, she's actually somebody that used to live in the same world as Rudeus. And not just the same world, but also the same location from the previous life of Rudeus, this being in Japan. And as if things weren't shocking enough, remember that scene in which Rudeus from his previous life was trying to save a bunch of people from getting hit by a truck, only for him to get hit instead? Well, one of those people was Nanahoshi. What made this interaction important was not only the fact that Rudeus came to realize that he wasn't the only one to come from a previous world, that unlike him who reincarnated and became a different person in this new world, Nanahoshi was teleported to this new world, and it's because she was teleported in this new world that it caused the teleportation incident, an incident that Rudeus was involved in, as him and many people that he actually knew and cared for were sent to different parts of the world. And because the teleportation revelations were random, no one knows exactly where everybody went. While this revelation is huge and it completely shifts the story to a completely new direction, it doesn't take away from the fact that this is the only thing that makes Nanahoshi interesting, because overall her entire goal is for her to just simply return home, the world that Rudeus and her used to be in, except the difference is that unlike Rudeus, she has people that she wants to see again. She has family, friends she dearly misses, but also just her life as well. She doesn't like the lifestyle that this new world has. While she can get used to it, it doesn't mean that she's happy living this lifestyle. Unlike Rudeus, who has no regrets being in this new world and is perfectly fine with this lifestyle from now on, the same can be said with Nanahoshi. And while at first some people weren't able to understand why Nanahoshi was willing to go so far to go back to their previous world, as why wouldn't you be happy being in a world that's filled with magic, sorcery, etc., it doesn't mean that that's the only things that's going to make you happy in this new world. The series did a good job showing this difference between Rudeus and Nanahoshi. The reason why we're able to understand why Rudeus doesn't want to go back to his previous world is because of what he had to deal with in his previous world. Rudeus was a victim of bullying, and it's because of that traumatic experience that it caused him to isolate himself and never leave his room. And this isolation, while at first his family understood and sympathized with him, quickly changed, and this caused a rift between the relationship between Rudeus and his family, so much so that when his parents passed away, he didn't even bother showing up to their funeral, which angered his siblings to the point that they kicked him out of the house for good. It's a moment that reveals that while Rudeus' life was tragic, it didn't mean that it had to always be like that. At some point, he could have changed his life around and could have done things to make his life better, but he just simply chose not to. And while it took Rudeus going into a new world and looking back at his previous life for him to realize that he wasn't a great person and there were so much things he could have done to make his previous life a bit better, now it's too late. Not only because he died in his previous world, but also because even if he does have a way to get back to his own world, it doesn't mean that he's going to be able to fully fix all the things he did. Will he have a better life now that he has grown up as a person? Will he have been able to fix his relationship with the remaining members of his family? That is something we'll truly never know, because while Rudeus does think about this from time to time, it's not like he's desperate to see if this is possible, because in this new world, he has a new family that he deeply cares for. He built connections, he started new relationships with people that he doesn't want to lose in this new world, which is why while he does think about his previous life from time to time, for him that's all in the past. But the same can't be said with Nanahoshi, because imagine one day just living your ordinary life and next thing you know, you're teleported in a location that you've never been to or a place that you never heard of, and in a matter of seconds you lose access to being able to contact those you care for, those family members, those friends, those people you used to see on a daily basis. In the blink of an eye, they're just gone. And unlike Rudeus, who was able to be born in a family that cared and loved him and was very quickly able to build connections, Nanahoshi was all alone. She had nobody she can rely on, and it's not like she was desperate to build connections in this new world, because like I said earlier, she does not want to be part of this new world, which is why Nanahoshi was so eager to find something, anything that would make her give her a chance to go back to her own world, which she would find when she was traveling with Orsted. And it's during this journey that Nanahoshi will learn about the existence of summoning magic. And once Nanahoshi believes to have found her solution to getting back to her original world, she studies every little detail about summoning magic, which is the reason why she even went to the same academy as Rudeus. And that reason being is to simply study everything about summoning magic. Once Nanahoshi learns everything that she can possibly can about summoning magic, she ultimately thinks that by creating summoning circles, this will lead to her believing she has found the answer to going back home. However, the problem is that despite the many summoning circles that she created, none of them seem to work, and not to mention that a lot of these circles required a lot of mana, something in which she was not able to easily do, as unlike Rudeus, who had tons of mana because of his ability to use magic, this was not the case for Nanahoshi, as she was not able to use magic, therefore she did not have that much mana. But despite her best efforts, this doesn't go exactly as she wants. Despite studying about them, despite learning every little detail about them, even going as far as to getting people to help her like Rudeus, it was never enough, and it got to the point that eventually Nanahoshi would have a mental breakdown that Rudeus witnessed and was completely shocked in seeing. But it was a moment that made Rudeus realize that Nanahoshi was truly suffering, because he could tell just from her face just how desperate and just how depressed she has been all this time. Because it's not like she chose to be in this world, it's not like this is something that she wanted. She never wanted any of this. It's not like she wished to be taken away from the life that she was truly happy being in. And this is a great example of really the dark side of isekai, because while yes, it is cool sometimes to see just how a world with magic, mythical creatures, and just overall things that you wouldn't see in the real world, it could be fun at first. But what if you're somebody that had a lot of things going on in your life that you were happy being in? What if your life was good and you were perfectly fine the way you were living, only for that to all be taken away just because it happened? And it's not like something that you wished happened or chose to happen, it just simply happened. And when that scenario happens, it truly is devastating to see, which is no surprise that when Rudeus seeing Nanahoshi in such a bad state, Rudeus will ultimately decide by helping Nanahoshi with her summoning magic experiments. And while it wasn't easy and it required Rudeus to even ask for help from his new friends, it ultimately paid off, as even though they were able to use a summoning circle to summon a plastic bottle, that still was progress, and it was something that made Nanahoshi smile, which was great to see, as most of the time Nanahoshi didn't really express too many emotions and it almost seemed that she was very serious all the time. But seeing a summoning circle work and seeing actually something happen for once, it made Nanahoshi happy at the fact that all her work, all the things she had to learn, all the time she spent learning about summoning magic was now finally paying off, because it gave her hope that it was still possible. It didn't mean that all of this was for nothing, and one day Nanahoshi will be able to go back to the place that she truly calls home. Which is why I'm glad that Mushoku Tensei was able to take this trope that not many people pay attention to it and shed light to it as to what it's truly like to be that isekai character that isn't entirely happy in the isekai world that they are now in. Because let's be honest, nothing is more sadder than being separated from the people you care about and are the most important things to you, and having that life that you really are looking forward to be taken away from you by something that was completely out of your control. And with that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.